Selling is the, no, let me give you my definition of a close. It's the process of helping people make decisions that will be good for them and good for me. Helping people make decisions. People, they like your personal help. And I like to see myself as a person who is a solution provider rather than just closing the deal. If I think, oh geez, now I've got to close, and you'll see it in the body language, you'll see it in the slumping of the shoulders, you'll see it coming a mile off, and the buyer hates that. It's got to just be a natural flow of the conversation. So to keep it natural, the best way to do it is to summarize the points of agreement. So I'm going to just write down the word summarize. And once you've got the agreements all agreed to, then you're able to move into a clever close, which doesn't get a no. So let's start with the points of agreement. How do you start that? Let's go back to that water dispenser. I wrote down some of these points of pain here. This is the only time that you ask yes-no questions.
Okay.
Now you ask the yes-no questions when you get to the summary and the close. So for example, I would say something like this. Do you remember, Nanika, earlier on, we agreed that, I'm trying to find the pain points here for, yeah. We agreed that, one, you wanted to save electricity. Is that right? Now think about our example. Is that right? How would you answer?
Yes.
Okay. And we also agreed in terms of hygiene and making sure that sanitation is adhered to. We needed to look at the whole question of whether tap water is safe or not. And there was a question mark in your mind about that. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Come on, guys, help me. What was another point of pain?
Solar panel that you don't need the electricity. So
Yeah, the electricity is one. What about the diarrhea? Earlier on, do you remember, Elise, we spoke about some of your delegates getting diarrhea, and that you said that was you were scared because it would harm the reputation of your company. It might. Is that right?
That is right, yes.
Okay, so that's my third yes. And then I'd look for my fourth one, which would be, and you'd actually lost a lot of money with one client. I think you mentioned 10K.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the last point that we agreed on, and now give me another point. Last point.
It was the money.
Let's think of another last one.
Oh, we're at the.
I've run out of mine. I've got 4-star status here, but that doesn't come into play. Oh, it might come into play. We agree that you wanted to go from a 3-star to a 4-star. Is that right? And that water hygiene was, or that this might be an imperative. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the golden rule here is once you've collected 5 yeses, maximum of 5, you can get to 3, but don't aim for more. Aim for at least 5. That you get 5 points of agreement where they've said yes. What does that mean? It means that you've got to do your discovery phase. of getting those agreements early on. Because if you haven't got those agreements, it's difficult to close. So you've got to find those 5 points of agreement and then summarize them, collect 5 yeses. And once you've got to 5, that's enough. That's the golden rule.
Okay.
So you've got your 5 yeses. Now, where do you go from here? If a person is in the habit of saying yes, 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 5 times, how likely is it that they're going to say no when you get to your closing question?
Well, I will ask, can we deliver for you tomorrow? No.
Go back to what Marlise said earlier on. Go back to your friend.
Okay. Now
Your
that we
friend is the
know,
5
now
Sorry?
that we, is it the question that the first one? Now that we know how great this product is, when can we deliver?
Okay. But bearing in mind that you've asked them, we looked at this and these were the areas that concerned you. I didn't say, here are your points of pain. I just said, here are the areas that concerned you. 1 and
Okay.
2. And they said, yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
Now remember your friend. Your friend is the 5 whiskeys in a hotel. So you frame your closing question around that. When can we deliver? Or what quantity?
Okay.
Should we look at 2 water dispensers or 3? So it's not a matter of, do you want to go ahead? It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of what's the best way forward for them. So you're not asking them for permission to proceed. Once you've got the 5 yeses, we call that permission to proceed. So you've got the 5 yeses. Now we need permission to proceed. And that means we need to ask that any alternative, anything that doesn't get a no. So when would suit you? Should we do this Friday at the beginning of the month, or should we do middle of next month? Should we go 100 or should we go 10? It's a choice of alternatives, that one. Sometimes people need to be led more. So it's called, you'll see in your book, there's 17 ways to close. Now that's a bit of an overkill, and I admit that to you, because I don't believe you need to learn all those 17 ways to close. Why do you think I put in 17 ways to close?
Due to your social personality.
Yeah.
Um,
Also,
due to your social personality. So not everybody is the same. So by analyzing what type of client you're dealing with, you're going to have to retrieve that type of closing with that certain client.
Correct. But if you really drill down, you probably only need 3 different types of closes. I'll tell you why I put in 18 or 19. I think there's 17 or 18 there in the book. Is because everybody that phones into our office says, please won't you teach our salespeople how to close deals? They're not closing deals properly. So everybody in the market wants to learn how to close. So to impress them, we put in 18 different types of closes.
Okay.
And it's purely a PR stunt. That's all it is. You don't actually need it. All you need is an alternative. Would you prefer to have this installed this month or next month? Would you prefer that we start the trial next week or the following week? How do you suggest we move forward from this step? What are your thoughts on the next step? Now, once you ask a closing question, you shut up.
Okay.
That's where Marlies came in earlier today. The rule is here, you ask your closing question, you give them an alternative, and you shut up. Why do you think you shut up?
Because you need your yes to confirm the deal is done.
Isn't it where the client is going to tell you then how much and what? That you're not again overselling because you need to close it. You've already said what is need to be said, isn't it?
Okay. Now, what I did there was silence. Did you see that?
Yeah.
And I didn't say anything. And before it took Elise about 5 seconds, and suddenly it became a bit uncomfortable. And so she spoke. And then Morena came in and she spoke. So the first person to speak loses the debate or loses the argument. That's a common phrase in selling. You want to shut up because you want to build up what's called a pregnant silence, where they've got to answer. They have to. Because I just shut up. And I was watching your body language, all of you, and you're starting to get a bit worried. Is Clive going to continue talking, or must we talk, or who must talk? And you talked. So I practice what I'm preaching to you now.
Yeah.
Ask the question and shut up then. And
Okay.
so if I say to you now, okay, so should we then bring in 2 water dispensers, or would you prefer to start with 1?
One's fine.
Okay, 1. So if she says it, it's true. If I try and tell her you should get 1 or you should get 2, she can waver. You wait for the answer to come from the client. They commit themselves. Once they say it, it becomes true.
Okay.
If I tell them, I think you should have 1, or I think you should have 2, 1 here and 1 there, I better follow up with another question. What are your thoughts? And shut up. I've got to get them to talk, because if they say it, they commit themselves. If you as a salesperson tell them what you think they should do, they can disbelieve you.
Yeah.
It's a technique called the pregnant pause or the pregnant silence. It builds up. And it's quite difficult to do, eh? It's my wife gets annoyed with me for doing it, because I will ask a question and I'll shut up. And I'll wait. And I'm quite used to it. And normally people they don't like it. They get uncomfortable. And that's what you want them to do. You want them to commit. So you're not, what you're saying is, come on, I'm not saying anything more now. I've done my job. You now decide. And then depending on the type of the question you've asked, which is not a yes, no, it'll be a decision. We'll try 1 and we'll go next week. Something like that. Wow. Now that's a big lesson in a very important part of the sales. And my aim there was to strip the mystery out of closing. It is not a big deal. It should just be a summary and then an alternative question. So it's not a matter of deciding whether you want to go ahead. It's a matter of deciding what the choice is between the 2.
Okay.
So let's say I say yes 5 times. I want each of you to practice with me and Marlies. Just practice how you would close us. You can use the water dispenser since we're used to that thing. I've said yes. Marlies has said yes 5 times. We've agreed with his pain. Now, give it a shot yourselves and try and ask Marlies the closing question.
Marlies, when can we deliver?
Marlies, when can we deliver? Marlies, so can we deliver tomorrow morning or can we deliver next week? When will suit you best? Dis wat
Okay.
ek sê.
All right.
Okay, that's a learning point. Give them a choice.
Yeah. Look, can I give an example? In my sales, in my media sales, what I do normally is I take up my order book and then I ask my customers, that's my closing deal. I would say to my customer, so can I sign you up today? Then I know, then this is it. I've got the order.
Can you give
So in
me
this fact, excuse me, Marlies?
if you go to the approach, you need to not really give them the chance to say no. You must just, when can I deliver? Tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah.
How many packets can I deliver? Tomorrow.
Because otherwise you're giving the space to overthink. The customer then is overthinking or thinking, no, he doesn't want to do this anymore. You
I
need to
think
be firm.
doctors are in a hurry. So they just want to get you going now. So give me 10 packets and go.
So, Morena, in your current business, you could say something like, you've got your order book there. You could say something like, okay, so should we run the advert commencing middle of next week, or would you prefer the following week?
Yeah.
You got your order book there. It's just a matter of choice
Yeah.
of when.
Yeah, because what I've also learned, to be honest, is Clive, is also don't be that desperate though, because they can also chase a client away.
No, you mustn't be desperate at all.
Yeah.
In fact, the worst thing that salespeople do is what they do is the minute they're smelling that there's a deal there, the minute they smell a deal, it's amazing how overexcited they become. And they say things like, okay, so let's have a look at this. So we can start tomorrow. And their pen starts to go like this on the page. Let's start tomorrow. And you know, is that okay with you? And the body language becomes all wrong.
Mm.
The body language at this stage should be relaxed, sitting back, drop your tone of voice, and say, right, should we then go for 1 this week, or would you prefer that we deliver 2? And let's get that sorted out first.
Yeah.
So which would you prefer? And your language should be very slow and low pitch, and your body language should be almost you falling asleep.
Okay.
Salespeople become really excited when they smell a deal. They get bloody excited. Motorcar salespeople are typical. They become so bloody excited, and they actually put the buyer off. We teach a lot of them, and they sit there, and very often, guys, the close should happen quickly. I mean, it shouldn't be a long, drawn-out thing, and it should flow. I've noticed salespeople as well. They'll stop, and everything is ready to be closed. And they stop, and they think, geez, now I've got to close, and they panic. You know, it should be the opposite. It should be total relaxation, as if you're going into a trance or a meditation. And it should be very relaxed. And which would you prefer? You know, for me, it's not a matter of do you want to go ahead. It's a matter of what suits you best. Can you try it again, Morena? Try it with Marlies.
Well,
you've got 5 yeses. So now, now give her a choice.
So Marlies, sorry, just want trying to get my ducks in a row. Would it be fine with you, Marlies, if we deliver them by tomorrow? And how many? Is that a closing deal? Is that fine?
How many?
And how many? Because you're putting him. Yeah.
Don't ask me, will it be fine?
Well,
then
okay.
She needs to say no. No, it's not going to be fine.
Yeah, because you already have that.
I'm like, shit, did I can iets gesê? Did I say something to you?
Yeah.
Was that what you want to steal? So, okay,
Yeah.
deliver 5 packets for me tomorrow, or because you're going to feel stupid if you say no now.
Yeah.
Okay, Nanika, you give it a bash, and then we'll give Morena time to think of another one.
Maybe would you like to start out with 1 or 2 units?
Sorry?
She prefer
Would you
one.
like to start out with 1 or 2 units?
Okay. I'm not sure.
No, Clive, but remember it's a Afrikaans thing that she could just put it differently. Would you prefer 1 or 2?
Okay. All right, that's a choice.
So it's just a
No,
choice.
that's fine. I got that now. Sorry, that's fine. It's a choice between 1 or 2 units. What would you prefer? I like
Okay.
it. Elise, do you want to give it another bash?
When can we do installations? Will tomorrow or Thursday suit you?
Will installation suit you? Oh, well, tomorrow. Jy gaan stupid vir hom nee te
Yeah, I
sê.
think that's a good one.
It's a nice one.
That's
Well
a
done.
nice, well done, Neil.
That's a nice one. What you're doing is you're not allowing her to say no.
Mm.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So get a question that she can't say no.
No, you don't want to get it. You want to
No
give them a
no's.
choice.
No choices, no no's.
Ask them a question to make them think that earlier in the conversation, most of the time they will not be able to go back so quickly. So they will think maybe they gave you a hint and they're going to feel stupid to sit and say, no, we don't have the funds. They're going
Okay.
to take a minimum, but they will take
Yeah.
something.
Okay.
Miranda, let's give you one more chance here with Marlies.
Marlies, can we say then, can we deliver tomorrow and what quantity? Is that better?
Dit is can.
Kan.
So you give them a chance again to say yes or no. So I
Wow.
would rather say, so am I delivering tomorrow or next week? 4 or 5 pallets.
Masa, if you're asking also, so am I, you can also say no though.
That's the way you say it. If you
Yeah, I
make
hear
it can, then you sound unsure again.
Okay.
So you can also go, I'm delivering, but then it's the same thing, I am or I'm. It's just
Yeah.
So I'm delivering tomorrow or next week. Am I delivering tomorrow or next week? No, how many pallets?
So you could phrase it. I mean, the thing is to keep it very natural. So all you're saying is, listen,
Situation. You just
what
need
would
to
suit what would suit you best? Delivery or installation this week or next week? What would suit you best? You know, it's paying them a compliment. It's saying, I want you to choose which week. It's not saying, do you want to go ahead?
So Clive,
Do you
what I
want-
also mentioned earlier, I think it was to Marina or Nanika, I'm not sure, I can't remember, but sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, you can easily ask a closed question, but then to immediately turn it again into an open question. So let them answer a yes or no, but then have an open question ready. So you need to be on your feet the whole time, because it's easy to, especially for Afrikaans people, to go into a closed question. And then after you've asked it, because in Afrikaans you would ask something and there would be a long answer for it. But if you go to English, then it's a yes or a no. And then after you said it, you're like, So you need to have an open question backing it up the whole time.
I want you all to try one in Afrikaans then. I want to see that. Let's just try another one because this is critical that we really get the hang of it.
This is
So try it in Afrikaans. Let's start with Elise.
Okay. Wanneer gaan installasie julle pas? Môre of donderdag?
Baie goed.
Okay.
Donderdag asseblief.
100%. Sal 10:00 julle pas?
Yeah. I got the order. Try it in Afrikaans, Nanika, so I can just hear it.
So jy verkies om eers een eenheid te bestel of 2?
You prefer to order 1 unit or 2 units? Yeah.
No, that's well said still. Can I butt in on that? It's not, I don't have any problem with my Afrikaans or English, or, well, I do probably, but I am feeling comfortable to speak in English as well, but I think my problem in general is the way I put it is wrong. I admit it. And I struggle with that a lot of time. And then at the end of the day, I go into self-pity. Because why did I not do that? And I could have done that, although I know what is right though. Yeah.
But
I'm
look, now
thinking.
you know, it's just a matter of giving them a choice.
Yeah.
The way that I would phrase it would be, what would suit you best? You know, that's a gentle. What would suit you best?
Yeah.
That we start this week, or would you prefer that it begins the following week? You know, you make it gentle and make them feel that they're making the real decision. So it doesn't have to be, Elise, do you want to do the Tuesday or Thursday? It can be, what would suit you best? And that's a nice way of saying that you're important.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
In a sense of when it gets to you, in my line of field we have deadlines. But that's how I relate now. So I don't know how to relate necessarily if I'm a pharmaceutical rep. There's normally, I don't have time in the sense of I can't see the customer in 2 weeks because then I don't get to my deadline, because then I'm gonna be desperate for a sale. So in advance, I need to plan all my stuff in order so that I don't become desperate and sound desperate over the phone. Meaning that same principle that we're talking about here now, closing the sale and how you're putting it, it's the same kind of thing for me when I'm trying to get an appointment. How I see it, if I give room or too much space for a customer, and I know we want to put him also to let the person feel that we're carrying him on his hands though. But if you giving too much space though for this client to think, and you've got also in your mind, you've got this planning, you need to reach your target, then you need to, in a way, well, I know we're talking about closing the deal, but in the sense of if I'm even talking about starting an appointment, I can't give too much gap and time for my customer to decide, because then he's already overthinking the thing, because then I'm missing the whole sale or missing the appointment. So in a way I see it, or how I was taught, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe you can correct me, Clive, at least, is this, that you shouldn't give that much time for the client to think in that sense. So that, because you're also in charge of it, because otherwise he's taking everything from you though, away from you.
Okay. So how about this? You say, okay, given the fact that we are totally and utterly deadline driven.
Yeah.
Since we're driven by deadlines.
Yeah.
Which is true. Should we look at a quick campaign now, or would you prefer that we plan for the next cycle or the next campaign? Something like that. Or you shorten the time period. Would you prefer that we actually start, it'll take us 24 hours with all the copy and things like that we start on Wednesday, or should we start for Friday for the weekend? What would suit you best? So you just narrow the deadline.
Okay.
Just narrow it down to even hours, 10 o'clock or 12 o'clock.
I think pharmaceutical sales is a tiny bit more time sufficient than what she's doing now.
Yeah.
No, it would be a different ballgame.
More of a gap, more to just take your time and listen to you. Because it's not as strict. Ek weet nie of dit is taal nie. It's not as, Clive, help me out here. It's not as, you need to get this target today. You've got it lined up.
There's not that urgency-driven deadline. But we deal with a lot of Morena publications and media houses. So I know exactly what you're saying. The thing is that you can still express it in such a way that from a deadline point of view, your company needs to have 24 hours notice. So we can either do it within the next 24 hours or we can do it in the next 48. You know, you can phrase it as long as you're not asking them, do you want to go ahead? It's not, you can phrase it tightly. And you can say, according to the way that the industry is deadline driven, which they understand. So it's just a matter of tightening your hours. It's the principle, guys. The principle remains the same. Give them a choice, even if you lead them to the choice. I would recommend that you go Monday 24th in order to make sure that you're in by Wednesday, or if you prefer, we could wait a while, bearing in mind that that might dent your sales. They must decide. And you've pointed out the negatives of waiting and you've pointed out the positives of going now. So all you've done is you're doing your job. You're just not giving them a no opportunity.
Okay.
I think you've got it. It's just a matter of practicing it.
Yeah.
I promise you, in your industry right now, Morena, your conversion rates will jump up immediately that you start giving the option rather than asking if they want to go ahead. That is dangerous. It's fatal. It's committing suicide. No, I don't, that's a bit dramatic.
It's going to be a very long process, but it's not. It actually goes quite fast. Because I remember with Clive, we did it like in 5 minutes and we had the deal. It goes quite fast. If you actually, the conversation is floating, then it goes fast. It goes really fast.
Yeah.
If you remember the process, and I see Marlies has written something to us all here. Oh, can you see the chat box on the right-hand side?
Yeah.
Okay, so Marlies has written this up. I only noticed this about a minute ago. Marlies, take us through this.
So it's just what you basically, now you went through everything. So I just changed the introduce to, I put research first because it's very important for me that you do your research before going in to the doctor and to introduce yourself. Because if you don't know the doctor, you can't go and introduce yourself. You're going to make a fool. You need to know what you're going in for. So either by sitting in the reception, getting a little hint, do your research, know your product. So that's, and then introduce yourself, and then go to the discovery phase where the 5 whiskeys in the hotel, and then fab. After that, remember you're going to need to bring your features and the advantages and all of that. You need to bring it in, and then you're going to collect your 5 mental yeses. Once you have that, you can move on to closing the deal, which is going to be your summary and your close question with an alternative. And you need to ask and shut up, and then you need to seal the deal and get out. And if you're gonna see now with if they reject you, they reject you. So must work. Dan moet jy maar aangaan. There's no use crying over spilled beans.
Well, we're going to be positive here because we're going to be a little bit more clever at making sure that our conversion rates improve. So in other words, the amount of quotations that you get to sign deals goes up because of these extra skills that you've got today. And again, as Molly's correctly said, it took a whole day to take you through the process. But in the conversation, it'll happen within 5, 6, 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Conversation when you get it going, as long as you know the process, it doesn't take that long.
Okay.
Bearing in mind that everybody's busy, and the first thing they're going to say is, get on with it. What are you going to offer me? And before we know it, we fall into the trap of presenting our product without finding any pain, and then we've got no ammunition. We've got nothing. So we've got to have the ammunition of the 3 gaps. And also it develops the relationship when you talk to them about how's their business going, what are they doing extra, and whether it applies to a doctor, an MD, or whatever. Nobody asks them those questions. No sales reps do. And that's why we're in business. because we teach sales reps how to be super, super good by
And
developing
even
relationships, listening,
Even if
and then
Marina's
they start
deadline,
talking and they trust you.
yeah, and even if Marina's deadline is very, very strict, I still think you're going to use all of this that you've been taught today.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just need to bring it in. Because even if there's a deadline, it's 5 minutes. You spend more than 5 minutes now on a client.
Quite funny, you know, I go in and I help these salespeople from, do you know Fashini's? I think they own, do you know At Home? That's store.
Yeah.
Some years back, they asked us to go and help their salespeople be more professional on the floor. And we went to teach them all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. And then they asked us if we'd go on the floor and coach the salespeople. So in my years of doing this, I have sold Mercedes-Benz, because I just got personally involved with the client. I knew nothing about the technical knowledge. I sold at-home stuff,
BMW.
studios, BMWs. I mean, I've sold so many products. I mean, just across the board. I've had somebody technical next to me to give me the technical support about the product, but I follow the process, and I can sell anything as long as I've got somebody technical next to me. And I often say to myself, I should have charged my fees to the client based on how many sales I get, because the process works across the industries. So guys, let's talk about handling objections now. So we get to the end and the person says, I want to think it over. TIO. Do you remember we started today with looking at TIO? You've probably forgotten that.
No.
I asked you to write that down. TIO means, yeah, it sounds good, but I want to think it over. And TIOs are so common in today's world where people want time. They want to buy time. Now, the reason they want to buy time, okay, let me ask you the question. Why do you think with an objection, we're talking about objections now, why would people want to buy time by saying, send me a proposal?
They can't afford it.
Or they can't say no. They're not interested and they don't know how to say no.
Okay.
They can't afford it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the main things is they can either not afford it, they do have a supply and they don't know how to say no to you, but they are willing to listen to your whole conversation, but they just don't know how to say no to you.
Or the amount of info you gave about your product is not up to their standards.
Okay, let's say that you have worked through it properly and you found 3 points of pain where they've admitted that there's a pain.
Yeah, but then that's excluded because you've already then addressed it.
Yeah.
Sorry?
You've already then addressed the situation with the 3 pains.
Okay.
So I don't know why will you get to, I will think it over.
Okay, well, nor do I. Because quite frankly, if you actually get the 3 points of pain, you do it properly, you summarize, this is what we discussed. Is that right? Yes, yes, yes. So we got the yeses on the table. The chances of them saying, I want to opt out of this deal are so rare. But if it does happen, we better just be prepared for it. Okay. So I want to share with you just a way of now handling how do you prepare yourself for this objection. And I think an easy way to do this will be to write on this, to share it on the screen. There's 5 steps to handling objections, and I'm just going to take you through them. Let me find this document. That's what you guys wrote this morning. I'm going to come back to that. Okay, so HO, and this is all in your manuals, stands for handling objections. Oh, before I forget, guys, you might want to share information amongst yourselves as a group, since you were together for better or for worse today. So here's my cell number. If you want to phone me for any reason, feel free. I am usually quite busy, but you can get hold of me. And if I don't, I'll phone you back when it's convenient. But that's my cell number. I don't know if you want to share your cell numbers to the other people. If you do,
Sure.
then just put mine in there. Maybe just type in your name and your cell number, and you guys can share your own little group if you want to. Should I wait while you do that? Do you want to do that?
Yes, please. Dus ek is nou by die laaste een hierso.
Okay, can I move on? Have you got everything that you want? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
Just tell me when you're ready.
we're ready.
Ready?
Ready?
Al gereed. Okay. So step one is when people get into an objection. Look, an objection can be a request for more information. It means they don't actually understand what you're saying. So sometimes you need to clarify what is it that they're objecting to. You know, if they say that, oh, the price sounds high, or they say, I want to think it over. You know, what is it that they want to think over exactly? But some people love objecting, and it's in their nature. So the first step is we need to make sure that we isolate. What we mean by that is, you know, once we've answered this one objection, how are we going to stop them from asking 100 and other objections? Because once they start, we want them to stop, you know. I mean, some people just go on and on and on. So we want to say to them something like this. Marlies, apart from your, let's say that you say the price is too expensive, or the product is too expensive for my patients who are not on medical aid. So you want to say then, okay, apart from your concern with price, is there anything else that you want to raise? So what we're saying is there any other concern that you want to raise besides price? So what you need to do is isolate it. So we narrow it down just to one thing. Otherwise, people start pouring out objections. Does that make sense? So step one, okay, so step one would be isolate. Step two is to clarify. What exactly do they mean when they say the price is too high? Or if they say that they haven't got budget? Or, you know, what exactly are they, what is the real objection? Because sometimes the objection could be that they misheard you, or you didn't communicate properly, or they didn't understand the information or something. So we need to clarify what is it exactly that's bugging them. So the way to do it is you use your friends again, your 5 whiskeys, etc. And you basically are asking them, when you say that, let's say price, when you say the price is high, please tell me more, or please clarify why you're saying that, and you shut up. So now you get clarity. Now they might say, oh, well, I didn't quite understand how, and they'll start to maybe go into the reasons why they're objecting. And some of it could be because it's false information, or they didn't understand it, or whatever. but they'll go on like that. The next step with the whiskies is once you start drilling down, it's really important that you get to understand the real nature of their objection, because if people are making a decision, don't forget it's quite a lonely place to be in, because you're going to be held accountable on that decision. So, you know, if you're making a decision, it can be lonely. Have any of you, when you're buying something, have wondered to yourself, I wonder if I should buy this or shouldn't I buy it?
Yeah.
I think it happens to all of us.
Yeah, we all do it.
So we're a bit like sheep. We need to know that there are other people out there who also felt like you did, and in fact are today one of our most loyal clients. And we call that third party proof. What we mean by that is this company ABC, or this client James Harris, he also had the same issue that you raised, but he decided to go with us, and today he's one of our most loyal customers. Now I'll repeat that because it's worthwhile repeating. All it's doing is showing proof that you're not alone. Because people sometimes will raise the objection because it's safer to say no. So they just kind of raise it. And if you show them that, in fact, there are other people who raised the same objection, but today they're very happy and they're very loyal customers of ours, you must have evidence of this, though, guys. You need to have evidence here of this.
Yeah.
Testimonials or whatever it might be. And you provide them with peace of mind under point 3. Under point 4 is you do this if you need to. They might be happy with point number 3, in which case you can then go ahead and close again. So what would suit you next week or this week or whatever. But if they're still humming and hawing a little bit, you need to go back to the points of pain. That's what I mean by summarize. So you need to be saying things like, because don't forget, let's say it's price. They're worried about price. Okay. We need to go back to those 5 areas or 3 areas of pain that we spoke about earlier on. So we need to remind them, because their minds become myopic. They think down at one tunnel only. So we need to get their minds off price and back to the reasons that got them excited in the first place. So, for example, we need to put in, okay, let's have a look at the pluses. 1, do you remember we spoke about hygiene? Oh, yes, I remember that. Do you remember we spoke about, what else do we speak about? Sanitization. It's pretty much the same. Do you remember we spoke about, all you're doing here is you're reminding them of what they said earlier on. So if you haven't got these points, you are at a loss. You've lost. Do you remember earlier on, what else did we say there? Quite a few things. Do you remember the client that you lost? The client that you lost 10K. Do you remember?
Saving on electricity.
Yeah.
Failing on electricity, and so on and so forth. So all you're doing is you're going back and what are you actually doing here psychologically with these plus points?
You're reminding them of what the benefits
Benefit. The fact.
Absolutely. You're reminding them, wait a minute, compared to your concern about price, look at all the positives. And if you can name them, and we got to about 4 or 5, if you can remind them of what turned them on in the first place, then your chances are so much higher that they start to put this thing into some perspective. Because when people talk about price, they become focused on just one thing, and that's price. And they conveniently forget about all these other lovely things that they agreed to earlier on. And it's called the balance sheet close. You'll see it in your books under balance sheet. There's an example there of how to use this method. And that's for handling objections. It's using it's very simple. It's 5 points. This is called balance sheet. It's called balance sheet. I won't write it in now. It's in your books. But you remind them of that. And then you need to ask what's called PTP. Now that we've covered the positives, and it is a closed probe, this, may we proceed? Now, it's important to know this, that you need to ask the permission to proceed. A lot of salespeople won't ask that question because they're scared they're going to get a no. And at this stage, if you do get a no, well, you have used all the tools and techniques that I've shared with you. And
I'll just interrupt you there because
sorry?
it's just you're not going to use that type of question if it's not on this type of scenario. Only when they object to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is all objections, isn't it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
onthou dat jy don't get confused and then use it earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dis baie belangrik om te weet wanneer om
Only use PTP with objections.
Yeah.
Yes.
that is your
Yes.
last resort.
You're throwing the cards down on the table now and you're saying, okay, we agreed all the following, you know, let's put it into balance here. So relative to the price, look at all the positives. Now having a good look at that and show proof. John Jones down the road also was skeptical, but now he's one of our best clients, or Dr. James is now one of our top physicians who's using us and is very happy. Maybe go ahead. That's permission to proceed. If they at that stage say no, guys, we've got to remember, we're not going to get 100% of the market. There's going to be, on the average, 25% that will always buy from you. There'll be 25% that will never buy from you. And the 50% in the middle is what we're trying to sell to. And there will be some people who say no, and it defies human logic. You don't know why, because they've agreed to everything, and it defies logic. And that's where sales becomes not scientific, because it doesn't add up. But that's the way it is. And we can walk away and walk out of there. We say, why did they say no? And you know what, guys? We'll never understand human behavior. It is a strange thing. So we just got to take it with, you know, with a pinch of salt and say that's one of the few people that aren't going to benefit from my service. So I feel sorry for them, because you know what? They're missing out. And I try and, that's what I say. They're missing out on a good deal.
But rather leave as a friend than burn bridges.
Absolutely. So what do you guys think of that
You don't know
model?
when you're going back there.
What do you guys think of that model? Are you okay with it?
Yeah. Yes.
It's in your books. It's very simple. I've tried to keep it all very simple. And we've covered now about the 7 stages of selling and partnering and a whole lot of things. So I'm going to kind of move towards a wrap up. What I want to do is I want to remind you of what your expectations were right at the beginning of the day. And I wrote them down here. So here we go. Okay. I wonder if you can remember what you wrote down when I said, what do you want from today's workshop? I wonder if you can remember what you said to me.
Okay.
I can, yeah.
All right. Then why don't you shoot, Miranda? What did you say?
Well, what I said to you guys is, or to you, is that I know where my weak points are, and that this is the main thing, is why I'm doing this, so that I can work on it. To hear it again helps. That's how you're going to improve. And then obviously my main thing as well is to get into the pharmaceutical industry and to understand it better. And I definitely got a lot out of this. So yeah.
Yeah, you wrote that to gain more knowledge in this area. And and you know what you also said, which is interesting. You actually said you wanted to learn more about closing, which is excellent, because hopefully you've got some new ideas now on how to close. Don't give them the option to get out of it.
Yeah.
Just go hard. When I say go hard for it, I'm serious about it. Relax with the close. Don't be tense.
Okay.
Morena, what did you? I've got what you wrote here. Let's see what you. Sorry, I've got Morena's here. I mean, let's go. Doesn't really matter. Let's go with you, Nanika.
I said I wanted to gain confidence in selling. And I think because today we've discussed really like practical points on exactly how to do it, steps to follow. I really wish I knew this earlier, all of this. So yes, I think it will really help.
Cool.
Yeah,
Elise?
mine,
Go back to Marina also said in the beginning she wants more knowledge approaching the doctors.
Yeah.
Do you feel comfortable with that now?
Oh, definitely. I'm gonna not lie to you. You guys gave me a good, a wide variety of things. I will need to go through this again. This is not where it's gonna stop. So it's as Clive also said before. You're giving us the guidelines, but it also depends on us. It's from our side as well. We need to take this further now, not because it's a lot to consume in one day.
Yeah, look, for me personally, I would say, you guys, not sales perspective, all my 80 sales, I do so. But to go advance will be the next step.
Definitely.
This is great.
This kind of stuff, if you think about it as building a house, today we built the foundation. We need to add need to add a beautiful house to it. So today's the foundation. Give yourself, I would say 6 weeks to 2 months is enough time, and then you're ready to go to the next level, because you've got the basics. I wouldn't wait even, normally we say 3 months, but I would suggest even earlier, 2 months, and go for the next level, because then we're talking about how do you really add value. So it becomes so exciting that they can't say no.
yeah, mine was getting better techniques to be a sales consultant, and obviously to be able to tap into a new market, and which is the pharmaceutical medical field. But I definitely, it's more than I've expected, to be very honest with
great.
you.
I'm pleased to hear that, Elise.
Yeah, that is really, the knowledge that I've gained today is like ridiculous. My head is spinning, but I've made a lot of notes, and I will just go through it again. And the support is really great.
Lekker, man. I'm pleased to hear that.
And sorry, Clive.
Go.
In the beginning, you said medical sales. You want to do it because the money is there, but
yes,
after today, I think you have got the knowledge to see that money can be anywhere if you've got the right approach.
Definitely.
It's not just medically, but it's anywhere.
Yeah, no, I saw that in the sense of, I didn't really have formal sales training. You get an opportunity and you just go with it, and you learn the tricks of the trade here and there. Yeah. But with this knowledge that I got today, I know I can succeed in any industry in sales. This really just broadened up my perspective in so many fields.
Well done. The proof of the pudding is, the proof of the matter.
Yes.
If you say it, it's true. And it's the same with selling. If the buyer says it, it's true. So your job is the catalyst that you're trying to get them all the time. You're trying to get them to say yes and to proceed. So if they say it, it's true, and they commit to it themselves, not the salesperson. The salesperson just is the catalyst to ask the right questions, to get their minds thinking, and for them to commit themselves. They sell themselves, actually.
Yeah.
But it's you who enable that. You enable the sales. So you're much more than a salesperson. In fact, if you think about it, you're a shrink. You know social styles. You're an economist. You need to know what the economy is doing. You need to understand trends in the market, in the sector. You're so much more than a salesperson. You're
the opposition.
You've got to know the competitors' intelligence, the opposition. I mean, it's so much more. Professional, top selling is so much more than people think. It's huge.
No, definitely.
And Marlies?
What must I say?
I don't know. What I'd like you to do is, I want you to chair the next little session, which is the last session. I'm just checking. I made some notes here. We covered the expectations. Your roadmap at the beginning, guys, was pretty good. It was pretty accurate. I think if you had to change it at all, maybe I'll ask you as a final question. If you had to change your roadmap, how would you change it? And here was your roadmap here. Where would you put more emphasis if you had to change that? So the question is, where would you put more emphasis? Where's the most important part?
At the 5 whiskeys and 1 hotel, because that's where you get all your information from to be able to handle your HOs, handling your objections, and and to be able to still close the deal.
Super. So your order was actually quite accurate. It's just where do we really put the emphasis is in red. Because if you don't get that, you bug it. You can't deal with objections. You can't deal with much. It's difficult to close.
Yeah.
So well done there. You've actually covered that very well. And I'm going to ask a final question, and then we simply will wrap up. And that is, if you have to have an internal discussion, and I'll let you discuss it for 5 minutes with Marlies, and I'm going to go and make another cappuccino. I will actually. I'll make it myself. Here's the question. Name 2 things that you're going to work on as takeaways. I call them takeaways because hopefully you've taken more than 2 things away. But your priority takeaways, name 2 that you feel are critical and important and you will work on from tomorrow. From tomorrow, you will work on these 2 critical aspects. And I'll let Marlies chair this discussion, and I will take an absence of leave for 5 minutes. 6 minutes while you discuss it, learn from each other, and then I'll get your feedback. Okay with you, Marlies?
100%.
Cool.